Hello.
Citizens. I'm Dad Revatheist. We're missing our guest. He'll be here momentarily, but this is Redacted, a live podcast where we citizen and its development.
You know what? I'm having a hard time having you come in. We're gonna work with your audio, but I think we'll see how that's going.
It's fine.
Anyway,
We'll get there.
yeah. This week, we're having a look. Uh, what is it? The Have a look in the year in review. We're going to talk
Yep.
about all of the patches over the past year, the things that have come in, how we feel about them, and we'll get our guests Aegis's input on what he thinks about them and what we think was fun, what we think was not fun, what we did well, with all the things. So that's what
So,
we're talking about today.
I think that considering where we were a year ago today, or a year ago tomorrow, I guess. A lot of you may not remember. We got
You know what,
the
Saren? Hold
30th.
on just one second. I apologize. I think I know what my problem is, and I'm going to fix it. So if you would bear with me for just one moment, I'm going to come in here into my audios and I'm sorry, everybody. Basically, I'm using the Discord audio, right? Do me a
Oh,
favor, just turn off, the filter, the auto thing, and I think your audio will be fine.
I don't have any
The
filter on.
the audio. Let me see.
I don't have suppression on.
No, 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 no. The input sensitivity. Like turn off the input
Uh,
sensitivity.
I have that off.
You have that. Of course you do. Welcome to standard issues that I have. Okay, so can you get the void stream? Let me see here.
I can turn my gain up a little bit. Does that help?
Yeah, that might help.
All right, I'll just turn that up a little bit. No problem.
All right. Well, I'm going to
Are
continue
we
to
all
mess
good
with it.
now? Okay, you
I don't know.
continue. As long as I'm heard, then we can keep going. Um. Anyway, last year, the last 12 months, 365 days. Um. A year ago tomorrow, December 30th, 2023, we got the last letter from the chairman, where Chris Roberts kind of broke down CIG, what their plans were for the next year, what they hoped to see in our hands. I actually have that up here if Rev wants to pause for a second and switch to our screen share. So we can just kind of go over and one and get for what this year has looked like compared to what they were aiming for.
Okay. So let's see here. We'll go to here.
There we go. Alrighty. So letter from the chairman. Alrighty, as we close out 22 into 2023. Thank you. Yada. Don't need to do that. Okay, so this was right before persistent entity streaming came out. Reaver says we're cutting out. You still use my Discord audio?
No, I've switched to your stream audio. Hopefully it'll be better now.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So beginning of the year, we got 318. This was going to be the first patch they talked about in the letter from the chairman. This is where we were going to get persistent entity streaming, which is kind of the god tech that we've talked about a few times over the past couple of weeks. Um, there's not a whole lot that I'm going to read here because most of it just kind of iterates what has already happened, and we'll get to that point. Um, they are talking about just PES here, Siege of Orison, which we've already gotten. They talked about doing the 100 person servers, which came. Um, yeah, they had 2022 was a record breaking year. 2023 is also going to be a record breaking year. That's nothing too new, but the big part that I really want to talk about
2022 was a record
regarding
breaking year too in disappointment.
yeah. What I want to talk about, though, going to be down here. Alrighty, here we go. Looking forward. Here we go. The road to Alpha 4.0. This is kind of the biggest part from the letter that I wanted to reference in talking today. Um, they talked about in this section, and we'll link this when we put the video on YouTube, where in player hands, they wanted to have persistent entity streaming already in game before this. They didn't, they acknowledged that, but it was on their priority, right? Beyond that, they wanted to have Pyro, they wanted to have static server meshing, replication layer split, all that stuff in our hands by the end of 2023. And that's kind of what they talk about in this here. If you guys remember 2022 CitizenCon, the entire theme for that CitizenCon was Road to 4.0. So this kind of set the baseline for what they were expecting. Hey, we got Aegis,
Yeah.
so you can set him up.
Yeah. We can hear him right up until he sends me his video.
Yep. Yeah. So here they're just talking about the specifics of it, but really, I just wanted to point out with this that that's kind of what they were hoping to get. Obviously, we didn't get there, so let's talk a little bit about what we did get. Um, the first patch of 2023 was 3.18, came out in March.
Yep.
Persistent entity streaming did come out finally, and it was well, it was interesting, right? So just to kind of reiterate for those of you who may not know persistent entity streaming, maybe you came in late after that. Persistent entity streaming is the tech where basically they take the entities on the server, whether that's weapons or water bottles or whatever, and they uh, those items persist through server lives. So you could, kill a server, boot it back up. Those items persist. They exist on what's called the replication layer, which is basically like a second server running in tandem. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's more or less how it goes. They've been working on this for years. They finally got it in. 3.18 was rough. Rev, do you remember?
3.18. Yeah. No, it was. I do remember. It was buggy and unstable as all get out. Lots of good stuff came in during that patch, but holy cow, it was
Yeah. So
it was a painful play.
it was. So I've got some notes here. So not only did persistent entity streaming come in, which was a huge core piece of tech, probably the biggest core piece of tech, even bigger than server meshing is going to be. Definitely harder than server meshing. They got it in, right? But aside from that, there's about 15, 20 other things they also put in.
Yeah.
One of the big ones being salvage came in 3.18.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole
Salvage was
stripping.
3.18. Hull scraping, they brought in the vulture. And this is interesting. Particularly the salvage part, I think, is interesting because they first said that they were going to put out salvage in like 2016, years ago, right?
Yep.
And then they pushed it back year after year after year. So finally they're like 3.15, we're going to have salvage, and everyone was like, oh yeah, we're going to have salvage 3.15, and then we still didn't get salvage, right? So 3.18, the gigantic shitstorm that it was, they somehow sneak salvage in there. How's it going with Aegis?
I'm just checking in with them actually.
Ah,
Oh, here's one.
surprise, surprise.
He may have already given me one. Give me just one moment while I check this. I'm going to switch over here
Sure.
to our old 3-camera stream. I'm going to grab, where is it? Where's the guest camera? There's the guest camera. Drop that in there and let's see if this is the one he's using. Nope. Well, hold on.
That's fine. Yeah, so salvage, long time promised feature, finally came in 3.18. So it was kind of, I feel like it was kind of underwhelming for some people at first, because all you could do was hull scrape. You had your vulture, you had your reclaimer, and you could just scrape the hull. There wasn't anything beyond that. Right now we have structural salvage, it's getting a little bit more in depth, but that's all we had at first.
Yep.
Hold on. Rev, can they hear Aegis talking?
No, not until I get his
Okay.
stream.
Okay. Yep. I'm gonna keep talking over you, Aegis. I hear you, but nobody else does. Um. Yeah. So anyway, that came with 318. We also got the platform, the Orison platform assault missions. I think they broke at first, but they basically created new landing zones for Crusader that were like taken over by Ninetales and stuff. We had the SPK
Yep.
rework, which also introduced, I think, the change of the crime system, where you couldn't hack off your crime stat anywhere but SPK now.
That's right.
There
Yep.
was the prison sandbox rework where they introduced the new prison missions, and you could go and kill people, and they added like the NPCs in there. You could take their gems and their contraband and then sell them, and different ways to get out of prison. They had the new escape mission, um, where you would get like some mission from Rudo to go and like pick up a package that had like a hacking chip, and then you had to like get out of prison via the escape tunnel, steal the Ursa, get to the nearby facility, and fly off, and then go hack off your crime stat. So they added that. Obviously, we talked about the vulture that came with salvage. The sand caves. Rev, have you been to the sand caves yet?
No, actually, I was just looking at that. I haven't. I'm bad about not going to the new like locations and stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. To be fair, I didn't go to the new sand caves until like a month ago. We took just an expedition a little while ago. Thalamit from the Empyrean Shores, he hosted just like a chill fly around, fuck around session.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, we're on Daymar. Let's go check out the new sand cave. So we did. We went down, and man, they were really cool. They were super awesome. They felt very natural. And the vibes were really cool. The way that the light like came in through the cracks and shit. Hey, now we have Aegis. Good.
Yeah, we do.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see if we can hear him talk.
Oh, we can hear him.
Testing.
Yep, you're
good,
here.
Good.
Welcome.
Yeah, awesome.
Nice.
Glad you
Perfect.
could make it.
Sand caves. Yeah, they just look really, really cool. It was with the sand caves. They also introduced a new FPS mineable, Jalanite, and you find Jalanite within those sand caves, and it was really cool because we had forgotten about it. Like I said, we only went a month ago.
Yep.
And so we were just like fucking around, like, oh, the sand cave is pretty cool. And then we went down to these like subterranean tunnels in the sand cave where it's pitch dark, right? And Pyro Mercy was running around. He's like, hey, I think I just found a rock, but it looks weird. And we all go to find him, and sure enough, it's these little yellow rocks. We're like, oh, that's the new fucking mineable. So we all like busted out our multi tools, and we had mining attachments, and just started mining the rock, and it was just awesome. So sand caves got in. The Daymar crash site. Have you guys been to that on with the 600i?
Have not been to the Daymar
Oh
crash site.
man,
No, I haven't seen it.
you goobers!
I
Daymar
told
crash
you,
site
I don't go to the new locations.
I'm gonna have to take you. It's cool. So there's an MSR and a 600i that crashed into Daymar, and they turned it into a derelict settlement, right? So like the 600i like hangs into a cave, right? And there's like these like suspension bridge
that
type
one.
wires.
I have been
Yeah,
to
that one.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. We're talking 318. These came out in March, right?
Yeah, I remember.
So super cool. This was like the first real derelict settlement we got. I mean, there's the Reclaimer, right? We got like Ghost Hollow and shit before.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fine and all. But this was like the first like the first where there was multiple derelict settlements, where it wasn't just the one derelict settlement. This was like the first where they started to expand after they had developed the Rastar tool. So it was kind of cool to see that they could start punching these out quicker and quicker.
Do we know the
new-
value of those new minables?
The Jalanite?
It's
A shit ton.
It's a
It's
lot.
like 30,000 a rock, or like for one little gem or some shit. It's ridiculously expensive.
it's
I
really
Might
think.
have
rare, too.
to.
Yeah, we like from that one cluster. I think we made like 350,000 from one little rock. Not even a cluster, just one specific little node. It was
Wow.
a shit ton. Yeah, super valuable.
Might have
But
to mix that into a mining night.
Well, that would definitely be more of an exploration night, because it's like you might get lucky if, as a group, you find one in a night. Like it's rare.
Yeah,
It's
but,
not like
but
it's not like rock mining.
yeah, even still, it would be an
It
interesting
would be fun.
hand mining
Yeah.
night going, doing
Yeah.
some cave
Yeah.
dive mining. Lots of mining loops that we could wind up
Oh
doing.
yeah, so
So-
Gundam is saying it's 27.7 per SU. I think he means per unit.
Yeah.
My guess,
okay.
because I seem to recall it was like around that per unit per little gem, because we got like a handful of gems. We got like 10 gems or something, or like 15, and we made like 350,000.
That's not bad.
No, it was pretty good. The new racetracks, all around Stanton, talking
Yeah,
like
like
Miner's
Hor-
Lament
yeah,
by
Horizon.
Grimhex, the lore, Orison, the Lorville one, and also the what's up, Krios? Glad to see that you're watching. Welcome. The PTV racetrack on Microtech. Have you guys been to that one yet?
Nope.
Good times.
No.
I suggest, I might have to host an event with the PFC where we go to the PTV racetrack. When it first came out, Phaedron, I think Zim and it was Phaedron, me, and a couple other people. We went to the PTV racetrack, and it gets chaotic because the PTVs are not like the fastest things, but they're not really slow. And there's like twists and turns and jumps and shit on this racetrack. And if anybody has played around with PTVs, you know that they're very dangerous and they can get explosive. They've gotten a little bit better recently, but super explosive. Rivers started seeing some expansion. Apparently, I didn't realize this until I went and reviewed the patch notes today. There are 40 new rivers on
Yeah.
Microtech and Hurston.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was that many.
Few.
Well, I didn't know how
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
there were, but I did know that that
40!
they really expanded
Yeah.
that tech and put it into use in a bunch of places.
Yeah. So the patch notes say additional derelict outposts. I think that this is referring, I think this was like a PTU patch note. I know that the derelict settlements that we just got were supposed to be several patches back, and they weren't implemented. They were in a PTU for like 320 or something. They never made it though.
Yeah, but they were brought in 322.
Correct. We'll circle back to that though. 318. We also saw soft death, which was really, really cool. This
Wait,
was kind of in tandem with salvage.
Soft Death was it? Oh, I got a list with all this stuff. So I don't
It
recall
came in with
seeing-
salvage.
Oh,
Yeah, it came in with salvage.
Got it.
Salvage. So soft death, that was kind of a game changer. That kind of expanded combat beyond just getting shot down, because you had a chance to escape even after you were soft deathed.
Right.
Long needed crime stat updates where crime stat 2 didn't,
Yeah, you were
didn't
reminding me of
warrant-
things that weren't really major feature changes. I knew there were some, but I
Yeah.
couldn't remember what they are.
Mhm.
But
yeah,
yeah.
not major, like fundamental changes, where if you accidentally trip and run into a guard or something, or violated a station
yeah, he's not going to
accidentally,
shoot
you're not
you
going
and
to
send
get
you to
not going to get
fucking-
insta killed, right? Yeah,
The
it's going to
Clash
be
or
like,
that.
oh, actual slap on the wrist. Physicalized cargo came in 318. That was another big one.
From
This
the
is
ships.
the
One of-
first
One of my favorite changes was that physicalized cargo.
Big
Just
one.
that idea that you could. So remind me in that iteration of physicalized cargo, the cargo grids were there. You could lock the cargo boxes yourself, right? So like that whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
that
that
idea
was
that
the
we could
first
pick up
iteration
and-
of that.
We could pick up and lock boxes into our cargo grids. Super nice. And running cargo to actually be able to go see it in your hold. At that point, I mean, it wasn't the game changer, but it sure did help the immersion.
Oh, yeah.
To be able to go see
Mhm.
and manipulate the cargo.
Well, it kind of was the game changer, right? Because more importantly than just you buy cargo, it appears in your ship, right? And it's physicalized, right? Now, this introduced a whole new aspect of piracy.
That's
right?
true.
Because
Yeah.
beforehand it was extortion. I wouldn't even call it piracy before. It was extortion, right? It was basically, if you don't pay us, you're gonna die and lose everything, right? Whereas now there
If you
exists
don't pay us,
actual
you're gonna die and we're
the-
gonna
the-
take it anyway.
exactly. There's actual tangible things to pirate instead of just extortion.
Yeah.
So that was
I do
that
like
was
that.
cool.
I do like that sense of we're here. We are going to take your stuff. Are you going to
Yep.
walk away alive or not?
Right, exactly. So from a piracy perspective, it kind of was a game changer.
Yeah.
Definitely
I'll-
opened a couple of doors there.
I'll grant you that.
Also, a couple of ships came out. Not in
Bunch of ships.
3.18.0, but for Invictus, which happened in May.
Yep.
We got
Two
the
ships.
Fury. Got the Fury.
But the Fury, that was 319.
We did. No, that was Invictus in May, just before 3.19.
Well, it was a part of the 319 patch.
Oh, well, I had it on a 3.18.x patch, but whatever.
Whatever. According to the roadmap, I went back to the roadmap to find what came out when, and it was.
That would have been easier than what I did.
It was committed on the roadmap for 319. In 318, we had the Vulture, and the Scorpius Antares.
Yeah, the Antares was the next one I was going to throw out there. I admit, going to the release view, the roadmap probably would have been easier. I was like going through each individual patch notes and like looking up release dates for ships, trying to piece them together.
You found some things that I didn't, right?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I was actually thinking of going through the patch notes for that very reason, to find those kinds of changes. But then when I saw how much was on the
it's okay.
roadmap, I was like,
I got him.
Good enough. How's it going, Rufus? Thanks for joining.
But yeah, I mean that was 3.18. So persistent entity streaming was obviously the big one.
Yeah.
There was so there was a lot of good things in 3.18. Let's take a moment of silence for the big terrible that 3.18 also was. For a lot of people, myself included, 3.18 was largely unplayable.
Yeah.
There were, I mean, just starting off, I mean, this happens fairly frequently, but like from the beginning of the patch, there were login queue errors where people just couldn't get in. When they could get in, there were the 19K bugs, if you remember, right? You know, where it was like, I was getting like 31K errors where it was like your login credentials are invalid. There was 19K errors that were like login services timeout and it wouldn't let you in.
Definitely. Yeah.
There were character unstowed bugs where it would like get you stuck between like character customization and actually joining the server, and then it wouldn't let you join because it was like, oh, your character is unstowed, so it's like your character didn't exist, but you couldn't go and do it. I should also mention with PES, character reset was not a thing anymore. They couldn't even do it in-house. Yep. They took away character reset. So for a lot of people, I know a few people, luckily I wasn't like that affected, but there were people who they tried to get in early 3.18 patch. They got the character unstowed bug. They had to wait for the next patch cycle to try again. And
Griffiths is saying that 3.10 was worse. Fortunately, we were not around for that one.
We were not around for 3.10. I will say I've talked to a lot of people who've been around for a while, talking into the 2.0s and earlier, and a lot of them said that 3.18 was worse. It was among the worst patches, probably the worst, but really the only contender that I've been told about was the 3.0 release, which was the persistent universe. You got Port Olisar, you're able to fly around. You know, that was bad from what I've been told. And 3.18, based on testimonial, was worse than that. Obviously, I can't confirm because I wasn't there, but it was bad. It was real bad.
Yeah, blame it all on persistent entity streaming. I'm sure that's...
Yeah, it was rough. That it took away the ability to. It was bad. Remember when you could walk around on New Babbage and use Arena Commander? No, I don't remember. That was kind of our point. We started playing in very late 3.11. Into 3.12 is when Rev and I started playing. Yeah. I don't know when Aegis came in. When did you come in, Aegis?
About 3.9, 3.8.
Okay,
so like pre-3.10.
So like 6 to 9 months before we did.
And I was very sparingly playing at that point.
So yeah, we didn't get to see the bad old days. But 3.18 was bad, man. So moving on, when 3.18.x 3.19 came around, 3.19 was not as bad, but still pretty bad. But we got some more stuff. We got the salvage contracts.
Salvage missions. We got that. We got the Lorville Cityscape revamp.
We sure did.
Super nice.
That was fantastic. But given the state of the servers in 3.19, it was difficult to enjoy it.
Yep. Yep. Some very lucrative new missions like Ghost Hollow.
We did get the Ghost Hollow mission, the money from nothing, where you've got the two kiosks on either half of the ship. You got to go activate them and defend them for half an hour while they spool up free cash.
Yeah, so
A lot
I
of
didn't.
fun.
I don't know about you. I didn't play those initially because they seemed like just not a fun place to be. But I can tell you here recently I've gone and it's abandoned. It's free money. So if anybody who gets a chance, here's what you do: you get either a ship with a lot of armor or a ship that's very very fast, and you zip in and you just zip right past the million cutlasses that are flying above, and you just land quick, get the heck out, and you'll be fine. There's a few nine tails around. You can kill them. Just sit there and soak up money for however long you want to hang out.
Yeah, true. You can do that. It was pretty popular PvP spot for the first few months. We as an org had taken it over a few times. It's not the most lucrative, right? Because
No.
there's there's two kiosks, right? And each one it has like you basically you go to this tower where you turn both the kiosks on, and then you have to go to the individual kiosks and turn them on.
Yep.
And then it fills a bar, right? And it takes about 20 minutes. There's some interruptions, kind of like hacking, where you have to press the continue button,
I think
where like it'll get interrupted. It's really funny because the screen that pops up when it pauses, it's like an error 30,000.
Yeah.
And you have to like press OK and it'll continue. But it takes roughly 20 minutes, maybe 30, for this bar to fill up.
30K.
And when the bar fills up, it pays out 150,000 credits, and there's two kiosks,
Yeah,
so you can get 300K total.
Right.
Yeah, right. So it's not the most lucrative, but it is easy.
It is easy.
And it is free. There's no buy-in.
It's not
It's
a bad
about on par with mining.
Yeah, it's not a bad gig for somebody to like starting to easily go get some money. If you can get in there and like I said, if you can get in there and you can get landed, then you can make a good few 100,000 fairly quickly, which will help get you some new equipment. And if you stay there for about an hour or two, then you're talking better ships from New Babbage, etc. You can at least get a start.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's not too bad.
I like it. I like it. I mean, I don't go there much anymore. Every once in a while,
It's fun.
just to see. But
Yeah, it's definitely a place we like to go and pick on people when we see them doing it.
yep.
But
And then, of course, as you mentioned earlier, the Mirai Fury and the Mirai Fury MX, and the RSI Lynx came in that.
yes,
patch.
the links did come in. The Lynx is like the luxury Ursa. It's one that high rollers and Phoenix owners have been waiting on for a long time. So that's finally in, and it's pretty nice. Have you seen it?
I'm not super into the ground vehicles right now, so not really. I mean,
It's nice. It's nice. It's
so the RSI Lynx. I might have had one. I don't know. So let me think. That one is. So it's like the Ursa. No, I don't think I've paid much attention to it.
Yeah, so outside it looks pretty much exactly like an Ursa, but it's got like cooler tires, I guess. But on the inside, it's like a two-seater limo van, right? Like it's not extended, obviously, but it's got like the two seats in the back, and they've got these screens that fold out, and you can see like stocks and stuff, and it's got like work desks on it. It's got like a mini fridge and stuff, and it's got like champagne in the fridge with glasses.
Pause.
It's cool.
Pause. Thank you so much, Gundam guy. Gundam guy. He just gifted like 10 subs.
Oh, thank you so much for that, man. That's that's Krios. Thanks, dude.
Or like 8, whatever. It was a lot. It was a handful. Oh no, it is.
Dude, thank you so much.
No, it's 8 tier ones. Whatever. Appreciate it so much.
Yes, thank you very much. I think your announcements are overlapping your name, so I didn't see it.
I'll work on it.
All right, we'll fix it later. 319. We also saw the first of what would be many mining rebalances. Aegis can talk a little bit about that when we circle back. We also got the very first tractor beam attach and detach.
Yeah,
like
I was going to mention that one. Yeah,
early tractor beam gameplay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we've had the handheld tractor beam for a while, but this is what allows us to pull modules out of ships, guns off.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the first things necessary for the pending cargo elevator.
Freight
so that we can
elevators.
so
Yep.
that we'll be able to actually have those physicalized parts that we can pull out, stick on our ships, swap things out. So I was real excited to see that. I've enjoyed messing around with popping stuff on and off.
Oh yeah,
It,
me too. And circling back to Ghost Hollow, when it first came out and both of these features were implemented, Captain Daddy and I actually were doing Ghost Hollow, and I was on the ground. I was making sure the terminals were going, defending from the NPCs that would spawn on anybody who came in on ground vehicles. Well, Captain Daddy was flying his Scorpius around, right? And it was the coolest shit because he would like shoot down players, and their ships, their physicalized ships, with soft death come down, crash on the ground, but their parts were still attached. And so as he was using like missiles and stuff, he would come down to Ghost Hollow and land on the ground, and I'd salvage the missiles from the ships he shot down and put them on his racks, and he'd go back up and keep shooting them down. And it was very immersive, emergent gameplay, and it was fantastic. So
nice.
little thing like that just
That's
adds
awesome.
so much depth. So it was really cool to get that, and we've since built on that in this year.
Yeah.
And then
I'd just like to point out that it's these little initial features that over the past year I think have really helped to create opportunities for that immersive gameplay. You know, these little things that we know they're not complete. We know that they're a part of a bigger, future patches and such. But I've really enjoyed seeing those bits come in so that we can create or even just discover opportunities to use them.
yeah, exactly. 319 also saw, this is the last thing I'm going to mention, is PTU changes, right? So part of the problem with 318 and why it was so rough when it first launched is that they didn't get enough numbers in the PTU to effectively test it, to effectively load the servers the way that they're loaded in the live environment. And so with 319, they changed how the PTU works. So maybe you're just returning. I'm just going to touch on this really quickly before we move on. They used to have a 3-wave system, or I guess 4 if you count Evocati. They go Evocati and then wave 1, 2, 3. And wave 1 was like subscribers and any concierge. Wave 2 was, A plus certain backers who had like X amount of time in game or X amount of issue council reports or whatever, right? And then wave 3 was like everyone. Well, now they have 5 waves plus Evocati, which is basically just, it's a little bit more division. And I'm not exactly sure what their mentality was behind that, but that has changed. So just a note, if you're, first level concierge and you're used to having wave 1 access, congratulations, you're now wave 4. I found that out the hard way this last PTU cycle. I was like, why the hell don't I have access? And then
I'm
Phaedron
still
was like,
wave 1.
oh yeah.
I'm
yeah,
not.
because you are a high level concierge, man.
I'm only.
I'm a peasant.
Yeah, I'm only a peasant concierge, and I had like second wave access
Yeah.
last go
Well,
around.
are you a subscriber?
No, not
well,
subscriber. Yeah,
I don't know why you got better access than I did. I was wave 4.
you're way in
But-
further than I am.
Yeah. Oh well, it doesn't matter. That's pretty much all we got with 319. 320, we didn't get a whole lot. It was mostly a stability patch to kind of smooth out the torrential shitstorm 318 and 319 was. But
That's true, but there was one very notable update
there
change.
was.
That being the removal of Port Olisar.
Port Olisar went bye-bye. 320, we got Seraphim Station. I'm a little disappointed at it. I understand why, right? So to understand why, we have to look at what's coming, right? The biggest one being persistent hangars, right? The idea is that you spawn in your ship and you've got an infinite amount of time to load it with your freight elevators and do what you got to do to get ready for your trip. Port Olisar didn't have hangars, period. It only had landing pads, which made the idea of persistent hangars impossible on that station.
Yeah, well,
So it had to go.
Right, and being the only station over Crusader, and being that as a station, it had very limited shops. It had, it only had the pads. It was a little weird in that it was 3 identical
3 struts, and they were all
struts.
identical.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was
which
weird.
it made it confusing, especially when people are trying to join you. You're like, "What? I'm in such and such location." Well, so am I. Where are you? Oh crap! Different strut.
Yeah, yeah. Strut A, I'm in strut C. It was definitely annoying, and
Oh,
and
was it four
I
struts?
no, there was 3 A,
Yeah.
B, and C.
Yeah, I thought it was whatever. It doesn't matter. It's gone now anyway.
Yeah, it's gone. It had to happen.
Oof.
It was a little bit sad for a lot of people because PO was the very first persistent universe location. 3.0 came out. You logged in, you spawned at PO, and it was your home because that's the only place you could land. It was like PO, and then you could like jump to Daymar and go to Kovalex, that shipping hub, Gundo, the one in space was 0G. It's like that. That was the 2 places you could go.
Yep.
Right. So
They don't even use that shipping hub for anything anymore.
there's
There's a
actually a
mission.
mission there.
Yeah.
There's a
is?
mission there.
Yeah.
We can talk about that some other time, but there is indeed an investigation mission there, and it's got a whole lore to it.
Oh, there's more than that.
I'll ha-
There's also cargo mission.
Oh, at the abandoned one?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh well, that I didn't know about.
Haven't come across those.
320. We also got the Hull C. The Hull C, the big brother to the Hull A, which the Hull C is probably going to be like the most common,
Oh, you know what?
larger scale freight ship we got.
They did the cargo refactor in 318. I mistakenly said that was physicalized cargo. Physicalized cargo is actually here in 320, which came along with the whole C.
Physicalized cargo was the tier 1 cargo refactor.
Well,
It's the same thing.
I don't think so. See, now
Maybe somebody who's watching can correct us, but I'm almost certain that physicalized cargo was the tier 1 cargo refactor. The other part of the cargo refactor we didn't get was the freight elevators and all that bullshit.
Well, I'm just looking at my list of things that I got off of, again, the committed items on the roadmap. And I did see on 318 that there was a cargo refactor, but then on 320, there was a card for physicalized cargo. So
We'll call it both.
yeah. So something changed about cargo,
It's
and it
It-
makes
it's all
sense because
stacking
with the
improvements.
whole C, there had to be changes.
Groofus is saying cargo refactor was redoing commodity prices and margins. That doesn't sound right to me, but we'll just agree to disagree and move on because that was so long ago. I don't remember the specifics. I
Yeah,
was
I
just
do.
going off patch notes.
Neither do I.
Um,
Just going off patch notes.
Just a couple of small things. That,
Both of them happened this year at some point in time.
Both of them happened this year. Yep. Couple of the remaining small points for 320 that are more quality of life things than anything. For our combat players, they added the anti-combat logging feature, which basically, when you get into combat, it starts a 5-minute timer, right? And it keeps refreshing as when you're in combat. Basically, there's a 5-minute timer after you get out of combat.
Yeah.
Where if you log out, then you either if you try to log back in, it's either going to put you in the same server, or you have to wait that 5-minute timer for it to pull you out of that server before you can get into another server.
Yeah. So there is. I would categorize. So the one thing we didn't talk about is in 320, there was a lot of updates to Arena Commander.
Oh, yeah, I did not write down any of the Arena Commander.
I didn't write down any of them
Updates.
specifically because I'm not super interested in it, but I did notice as I was looking through it, like Arena Commander, Arena Commander, Arena Commander. Holy crap, Arena Commander! So I just like lots of those. It was very much an Arena Commander centric patch.
So yeah, I just wrote down notes for PU, but I do have at the bottom of my list some notable changes, and in there I do have that there was like master modes and stuff in Arena Commander. So we can circle back to that because that's part of what we're going to talk about moving forward is master modes and stuff.
Yep.
The last little 320 tidbit is we got MFD persistence, which was supposed to be in 318 with PES, but the little MFDs on the ship, you can change those around and they persist with your ship state, which is super nice. But otherwise, I think that was pretty much it for 320, right?
Nope, there's a little more. So you mentioned earlier that ground vehicles were kind of squirrely, but they've gotten better. Well, 320.
Oh, there was a physics rework.
Yep, 320 gave us the ground vehicle handling improvements. which is likely where a lot of those improvements came from. And also 3
AKA the
ships.
speed reductions.
In
Yeah,
addition to the
pretty
whole
much.
C, there was also the third Mirai Fury, the LX,
Oh shit, I missed that on the patch
and the
notes.
Anvil FHC Lightning was
Ooh, that's a big one to miss. Ugh. Come on, Saren. That wasn't. I didn't see that in the patch notes. I must have just missed it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's another one. And actually, I want to say that one came in just about the time that I was able to earn it. So I didn't even really
Nice.
realize that it wasn't in. It just because it was all kind of at one little blur, like, oh look, I've got this ship, and then it was kind of cool.
Well, we got the F8C. So
That's a hell of a ship.
cool. It is a hell of a ship. It's a
Yeah.
little bit too much of a ship, but we can talk about that another time. 321. We got a little bit more. So some more ships, some more QOL stuff, some things that I got really excited about just because of the implications. Starting off, the gateway stations for
Right.
Pyro, Magnus, and Terra jump points. We
Yep.
got those stations.
We got those
We
stations.
got the I'm going to use the word runway for the jump gate. We got those.
Yep.
So the big old, at the Pyro. I actually haven't even been to the Terra or Magnus ones, but the Pyro ones says like "Welcome to Pyro" and everything.
Yeah,
was
they're so
like a-
far away.
Oh.
I'm like, oh my god.
Well, you got to consider, there's traffic coming in and out. You got to have room for security reasons, right? If you get a gunship coming through here with missiles flying out, you don't want them to be directly,
Yeah,
being
no,
able to
I
shoot
mean,
the
I'm not.
station immediately.
I mean, I am kind of complaining at their distance, but I'm also kind of not. I mean, you can't expect them all to be right close to the sun.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about their distance. I think it's fine. I also like that it takes the stations and you can see where the jump gates are not on the same axis of rotation as the planets. They're like above or below this plane.
Yeah,
And it's kind of cool to see just the different. I think it's cool. But that got me really, really excited because it's like, oh, they're getting ready. They're putting these in. They're doing testing for Pyro and shit. And then the fact that they put in the Magnus and Terra ones, I'm going to reference. This is kind of an obscure reference that gets me excited when I think about the Magnus and Terra jump points. In February, there was an ISC where they started talking about some things that they wanted to do throughout the next however long. They didn't give any dates, where they wanted to put like building interiors and expand on cities and make them more traversable and stuff, and how Chris Roberts wants to have bars and restaurants and shops all over the place where you could walk around in like underground transit systems. They were talking about all of this, and he was talking, the developer that was talking about the different levels of grunginess versus cleanliness versus, you got a high-end place, you got more of a backwater place, and where you might find these kinds of places. And he specifically mentioned Odessa and what was the other one? It was Odessa and Prime. Odessa and Prime are the main capital cities of Magnus and Terra, respectively. So it was just kind of cool to see them actually using those names out there when talking about these systems that they were building in place, and then seeing the jump points come into game. It gets the gears turning, and you don't want to start speculating too hard because that's how you disappoint yourself. But it's hard not to.
Yes.
Give it to us. Give it all to us.
So 321. Yeah, no, there was actually a lot of other really good stuff. We're talking about 321 still, right?
321. Yep. We just started on 321.
Yep. Great. So, but we got Crusader platforms. So they've expanded out the quote unquote surface of Crusader, so that now there's several platforms you can go to. It was the last planet to have it had
multiple
nothing
landing
until
zones.
Eventually they gave us Solasar, and then so now there's multiple locations to land on Crusader, which is nice.
Yeah, they actually introduced those in 318, but then they broke really bad, so they took them out, and then they put them back in 321 is what it was.
I don't remember that. I'm not surprised with as bad as 318 was.
Yeah, it was bad. 321. We also got some cool illegal missions. the data heist, the steal evidence mission that
Yep,
you
from
get from
Correa.
Lucia
Yep.
Pacheco from Twitch, and then we also got the illegal. I think we got the illegal tractor beam missions because we got the Argo SRV and ship tractor beams in.
That's right.
So
And consignment
was-
missions, which I haven't done any of those yet.
yeah, the consignment missions. It was a good fun patch for PvE criminal gameplay. And this was post 3.19, so servers were pretty smooth. Everything felt good. 30Ks were low. This is where we, in 320 into 321 is kind of where we started to pick up on that. Oh, the game is actually reliable again. So
yeah, and some people started coming back, which is great.
mhm.
I came back. I will admit that at 318, 319, like so many people, I stepped away, and I
Me too.
wasn't playing near so much. But at this point, I mean, things are they're smooth, they're fairly stable. There's a lot of great gameplay loops, new gameplay loops that are making it fun again. So, yeah, 321 was definitely well.
It's like where we start to saw that uptick. Yep. Yeah. They also a whole bunch of new ships. 321-0, we got the A1 Spirit, which was the smaller Crusader bomber. Going on into .x patches, we got the C1 Spirit, the SRV, and the Tumbril Storm. What's up, Aegis?
You said C1. I said great ship.
Oh, the C1 is a great ship. It's a little bit too good of a ship. I have kind of a qualm against most Crusader ships because they are too good. I think they need nerfed, but that's a different discussion.
So somehow I missed when the first Cutter came out. When was that? Because in 321 we got the Cutter Scout.
Yeah. So I think the first Cutter came out. I want to say Invictus or not Invictus. Like IAE 2022.
Oh, was that 22?
I think it was. I think it was for the base Cutter. I think it was.
Okay, well then that would explain it. But we did get the second.
Maybe
Cutter.
Q4, but I think it was late 2022 that we got.
And we got in 321 the first Gatak ship, the Sulin.
Oh, I can't believe that wasn't on my list. What the fuck? We got the Sulin.
You got stuff
You're right.
I've missed. I got stuff that you missed. We got lots of stuff
Dude,
to talk about today.
I don't know if Waka's lacking on the patch notes or what. I swear I went through that whole list. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, get that on there. Did not see the Sulin. That's the second ship that I've missed today. Third, I guess, because I didn't get the Cutter either. So.
Well, I mean, in fairness, with the patch notes, in order to get everything, you have to go through each, like each individual patch had like a bunch of iterations, right? So if you don't get the right iteration, then
I went through all the .x patches too, like .1, .2, .3, whatever. I don't think we've had a .3 since the 17s, but I tried. It's okay though. I'm glad that you have your own list.
Yeah. Yep.
The Sulin was a great addition. I hate alien ships. Sulin was great.
It's an attractive ship. I mean, it
does its job well. The price point is good.
And my favorite thing about it is that they took the opportunity, being an alien ship, to abandon the normal horizontal landing orientation. So they said, you know what makes sense? Let's go vertical. Let's do something different. And just that whole vertical kind of on your back.
They definitely took the opportunity to do some non-standard shenanigans that no human ship would do because it's inefficient or whatever. Maybe it's not inefficient to the Banu, right?
I don't know about no ship. I mean, every rocket that we've got to date has been that way.
Okay, sure. In 1,000 years, that may not be the case, right? But so we got those the ship trespass system, as well as the ability to sell items belonging to party members.
Yep.
Couple of quality of life changes. It was a really good patch for criminals, but it was also it was just a really good patch for criminals because you could sneak on board people's ships. There was a little bit of downside in that it's also easier to get arrested from people's ships, but also easier to sneak, which is good for like solo piracy and stuff.
So I want to go back a little bit. earlier, I don't remember which patch it was. You mentioned the updates to like crime stats. We failed to mention
Yeah,
with
that
that
was
one the ability to just turn yourself in from the kiosks,
true.
which was real nice. You didn't have to go find somebody to blow you up to go to jail so you could clear your crime stat. If that was the way you chose to do it, you can just go to the kiosk, turn yourself in, go deal with your crime stat, get out, which was nice. That's my that's my preferred way of dealing with the crime stat, especially when I'm like solo playing, because clearing your stat can be a little troublesome. That's a great word.
It can be tedious. It can be a little tedious since the crime refactor, because you can only go to SPK now.
Right.
And maybe we'll talk a little bit more in depth about the crime system and Bounty Hunter V2, which is coming up next year, and stuff like that.
Yep.
But we don't have to get into that now.
Yep. And also 321, I don't recall if you mentioned it, ground vehicle, the Tumbril Storm, which
I did mention that
did you
briefly.
mention
I didn't
it?
get
Yeah.
into it, but
Sure. So, I mean, for those people who are interested in the ground vehicles, the tanks and such, the Tumbril Storm was pretty popular. People seem to like it.
unimpressed. I was unimpressed.
Yeah, I wasn't super impressed either.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a neat ship, but it's odd in that it's just got this
too
little
wide.
it's just got this one little tiny turret. It's a rather large ground vehicle. It serves. I mean, it has a role, and when there's more ground vehicle gameplay that's realistic to get into, I have no doubt that it's going to be a very useful and a very fun vehicle to play with. But no, I'm with you. And
I hope
right
so.
now, there's not really much to do with it. And
Yeah, I mean that's true for most ground vehicles, but the Storm especially, it feels like, even with one person, right? I feel like the tank does a better job.
Yeah.
I feel like the ballista does a better job. I feel like pretty much any combat, Cyclone aside, the Cyclone sucks. But any other combat
I
ground
like my
vehicle
Jeep.
does a better job, even with one person. Sure, there's I think somebody's cooking in there. Smell some smoke. I hope my house isn't on fire. But even like the Atlas chassis, right, where you got to get out of your pilot seat and climb into your operator seat. The idea behind the Atlas chassis, anyways, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but the Atlas chassis has these sort of supports that they go poof, and they pump to the ground like a backhoe to hold the thing in place while you're in operator mode. So even if you have a guy in a pilot seat and a guy in the operator seat, the idea behind how those are used is like when you're operating it, you're not moving anyway. So having one guy to do both is not that big a deal.
Yep.
So, if one person is operating your ground vehicle, even with the Storm out, I would much sooner put him in a Centurion or a Ballista or a tank than I would a Storm.
Yeah,
I was just unimpressed.
Real quick, I just want to take a moment. We're actually at the hour point. I don't want to stop. I want to continue on. So, but I did want to take an opportunity in case anybody was expecting us just to end at the hour mark, to say thanks for coming. And I want to encourage people to stop by our Discord at discord.gg/pfcs. Have a look at our website, our Instagram, all of the places. Anyway, that's all.
The Instagram and Facebook are dead, but I'm hoping to pick those back up. So
Right. So
we'll get there. We're working on it.
So that about rounds out 321. Yeah.
Well, there's one more real shitty thing that I'd like to point out that I really hate. I love the idea behind it. I hate the execution. The ship headlight refactor was in 321, and Drake got real fucked. They talked about like, oh yeah, the headlights are gonna revolve around ship size, and your size 1s or whatever is supposed to see 500 meters, size 2 1,000 meters, or whatever the values were. Right. Every single Drake ship is like you're holding a candle with a piece of metal behind it. It's so bad. Even just today, man, I was trying to go scope out Jumptown just to see how performance was.
The angles are bad too.
Oh my god,
The
yeah,
mold.
man. Yeah, it's so bad, right? So like I'm just gonna use the Corsair as an example because that's what I fly all the time. Looking out straight from the pilot seat of the Corsair, you see probably the top 20% of the actual headlight like area. From the co-pilot seat, you see great. It's fantastic. But if you're looking like this and your headlight is like pointed like this, what the hell is that going to do for you?
That's
right?
exactly the opposite problem of the mole, right? Because with the mole,
is it up?
yeah, it's like it's with the mole.
mole's
The
too
pilot
high.
can see pretty well, but then you got your guys doing the actual mining down below, kind of pointing down. Can't see shit. So
Yeah,
annoying.
yeah.
They need to
So
increase the number of lights. They need to give each.
they do. They need to give the
of them-
turret operators their own lights.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They need to have their own lights. Maybe attached to the mining heads. Who knows?
If they could give like a gimbal for your headlights, to where I mean you could adjust them up or adjust them down. I could get behind that, because when you're flying on like a planet or something, you might want them adjusted a little bit down so you can see where you're going. But if you're flying in like space, you need them forward so you can see what the fuck is in front of you, right? And so being able to go, boop, boop, like, I think that'd be beneficial. That's
like
just
a
my own
hold-
idea.
Yeah,
Kind of
sure.
like a hold L and point.
Yeah, or whatever. It doesn't need to be sophisticated. It could even just be a toggle where you toggle them straight or you toggle them down, or whatever. Like, I don't care, but being able to at least see where you want to see, I think that would be beneficial. Or just increase the angle of the lights. Period. No, I don't care. I just want to be able to see, man.
Yeah, this is what 2350 whatever. Like
2953. This is
2953. They should be able to figure out headlights.
it's fucking 1,000 years in the future. Like, come on, you still using halogen bulbs on this Drake? Fuck no, dude. I mean,
Incandescence? What?
right? Come on, man. I mean, LEDs are even cheaper nowadays than the incandescents. Like, it costs like 2
Right.
cents to make an LED. Come on,
Look,
man.
I agree with Gumbo there. Give us the wee woo.
I like the Wii
Oh.
Woos. That's the reason that I
Wii-Woos-
like
yeah.
the Cutlass Blue. I love the Wii Woo
Yeah, I do wish that they made noise.
in space.
You're not always in space. Sometimes you're on planets. The fucking Pisces Rescue, its most common use is to go to bunkers. If you're in cap, just lying there, ragdolled on the floor of a bunker, and you hear wee wee, it'd be nice to have that audio confirmation that they're there.
Oh, they're coming. They're coming.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on to 322, just so we can not go forever. 322 is our current patch. They did add finally those derelict settlements that were supposed to come in like 6 months ago. So the oil rig on Hurston, the one on the mountain in Microtech. I think there's like 14 or 15 all in total that they added in 322.
Yeah, there's several.
Lots of spots.
We might want to just have like an exploration day where we just go exploring settlements.
So Thalamit does that fairly frequently. Thalamit with the Empyrean Shores, he does that fairly regularly. They just tend to clash with our Friday night play sessions. So I've only ever been to one, but
Got it.
Thalamit does that. It'd be nice to have one though, because I do want to see all the sessions, the derelict settlements. I'm not exactly sure why. I don't know if this has to do with the entities involved with building the settlements, but I feel like your client performance tanks whenever you get close to them, and they acknowledge that too. CIG knows that it's a problem. I'm going to use that to kind of segue into another 322 feature. Jumptown locations have moved, and overall they're fine. There's one on Hurston proper now. There's one on Microtech. There's one on Walla, and there's one on Damar. So instead of 3, there's 4.
I like the variety of the landscapes they gave with it.
Agreed. It was all snowy moons before, because it was Yella, Lyria, and I think Calliope or Cleo. I think it was Calliope. Calliope sucked, so I'm glad they got rid of that one. The other ones weren't so bad. I loved Lyria. I kind of hate the Walla one now. But my point to all this is that the performance drop on Hurston Jumptown, which is where it is today at time of filming this, it's real bad. I don't know if it has to do with the clouds or, like I said, the entities or the dust that they have. But
let me take a moment to bitch about clouds. But you go ahead. I'll bitch about clouds in a minute.
that's fine. If there's no ships in the air fighting, it's not so bad. You can feel the performance drop. It's not amazing, but it's definitely playable. I get around 20 to 30 frames there, and I don't have the best PC in the world. Aegis would probably be fine, but when there's ships there fighting, when there's ships there fighting, shooting off missiles and falling out of the sky, it gets bad. Even Aegis just built a brand new PC and he balled out. Okay,
So
and
7800 X3D and Radeon 6800 XTX, and I dropped from 60 down to low 20s.
Yeah, low 20s. I'm at, dude, I'm at like 5 frames per second when missiles start flying over the Hurston jump town. It is bad. And CIG knows this. They've acknowledged it and they're working on it. But yeah, it's just rough. So that's part of why I haven't gone to these settlements, is because, you know, I'd hate to go and try to experience them just to be presented with a slideshow. Anyway, clouds. You were complaining about clouds?
Clouds. Yeah. So, all right. So I've been doing salvage a bit lately, as you well know. And I got to tell you, coming into ArcCorp with those clouds, if it's daylight and you're coming into ArcCorp and it's cloudy, you see nothing but just a sheet of white. No clue. You do your scanning and it's drown, and like the scanning that you do, it's drowned out by the clouds. No clue where you are, no clue what direction to go. It is so annoying. So annoying. I don't know if there's anything to be done about that. And taking that reclaimer straight down under the clouds is scary as crap because it's hard to slow down.
So
you've got
there
like
is
500 meters.
Yeah,
it's
not a lot.
It's not far. There is something to be done. I don't know how much you, Rev, have listened or watched about their procedural cloud tech. There are always going to be like large sections of clouds where it's difficult and annoying to see through, but I know that Microtech and Hurston have the clouds like all done up all pretty and shit. I don't know if ArcCorp does. And that might be part of the problem.
No, the clouds are great. I mean, they're good clouds. It's and I'm not.
Well, maybe they're just shitty then.
I'm not even saying that it's unreasonable that the cloud cover would be full sometimes. I'm just saying it's annoying, and I feel like bitching about it because, god damn it, if it's
just
nighttime,
bitching for bitching's sake.
Yeah, if it's
and
nighttime, it's fine because you scan and you can see this. You can see the surface when you scan. But if it's daylight and cloudy, you're fucked.
I see. Yep. I see what you mean. I see what you mean. You're just bitching to bitch. That's okay.
I'm just bitching to bitch. I'm not
we
saying
can
it's
bitch to
wrong.
Landed.
It's just annoying.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, moving on. Microtech got a forest density rework. So I don't know if you've been to Microtech prior to this patch, but you know, Microtech is supposed to have a couple different biomes, right? You've got like the super snowy mountainous biome that Microtech is known for, and you've also got like the not so snowy foresty regions, right? That maybe aren't so mountainous. And before you still had those biomes, but the trees were pretty sparse. You know, they were separated a fair distance. It just felt kind of barren, even though it was supposed to feel like a forest. They have since reworked that. Many more trees. It's way more dense. It's so much cooler. If you haven't been since 322, definitely go and just check out the forest on Microtech. It's great. Yeah, it's fantastic. Openable cargo containers. So we talked about the physicalized cargo, the cargo refactor, and since then we've been able to like blow ships up that had items tucked in the internal inventories, and it produces
those containers. Right?
Yeah, it produces these 1 or 2 SU crates, and you could use those to store items, transfer to players, whatever. Right. Well, now you can purchase. Finally, you can purchase 1, 2, 4, and 8 SU containers that you can drop out of your inventory, clip them to your cargo grid, and open them and store items in. So that was a huge quality of life improvement, I feel.
Super nice. Super
nice.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they do to make those more useful. I mean, it's obviously nice for just being able to store and transfer, general goods.
But
I'm definitely interested to see what it is that they're planning on doing to make those increase the usefulness of those.
So when at CitizenCon, they talked about freight elevators, persistent hangars, yada yada yada, right? They showed a clip of a 16 SU crate that could open up, like the square side. It was like a door.
Yep.
You open it up, and the implications for that were cool. You're talking about expanded usefulness. Imagine putting like a vehicle or something in there, and then just transporting that vehicle via cargo pod. Kunk, kunk, kunk. Throw a ground vehicle in one of those pods, stick it to the side of a Hull E, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, if you could physically open them up and place things inside, then that would expand the usefulness a whole lot. And I believe that's coming. They haven't actually said anything about it, but it was part of that clip. So I'm hoping that comes.
Yeah, we'll see.
Who knows when though? Who knows when?
So at
Who
least they
says the
prototyped
raft
it.
isn't a drop ship?
Yes, yeah. Before we move too much further, because I have a rant coming. Protostar says new clouds were supposed to be in 322. If you're talking about the updated clouds where they're not so grainy and they have light coming through, there's no specific release date on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
That's also going
to
to come
that.
with like the ground fog and shit that they showed in the Star Engine demo. If that's what you're talking about, don't know when that's coming. I don't think they've actually said.
You're thinking Star Wars? I think there might be a copyright issue with Twi'lek twerking.
But you might get what you might get close to what you're looking for in Pyro. You'll almost definitely get it in Nyx. 2024 is probably going to be your year, bud. Just stay patient.
Yeah.
Stay strong.
Yeah.
Moving on.
I do wonder how adult a game this will wind up being. Will there be that type of location somewhere?
I don't know, man. They're pretty open to things like cursing, because their NPCs say shit and fuck, and you can there's flip off emotes. Yeah, flip people off. So they're at least gonna go that far. Well, I guess we'll have to see. Anyway, moving on. Just a couple other things. Player hair update in 322.
Big whoop.
Yeah, big whoop. I mean, it's kind of cool. I'll be much more excited when we get the rest of the character customizer in.
It doesn't save through death.
Yeah, I noticed I'm bald now. So
yeah, I'm black now.
Yeah. So
nice.
Yeah, that's a big whoop when the character customizer comes in and it persists, like Aegis is saying.
Yeah,
I'll be much more excited.
That'll be nice.
We got 3 vehicles. We got the Santok 4. I guess. Well, 4. Which one did I miss? I got the Santok. I got the X1 series. I'm counting that as 1.
Oh well, in that case, the X1 series was 3 of mine.
3. Okay, then yeah. So Santok, the new alien medium fighter, it's pretty cool. I don't love the Aopoa ships, right? The only thing I like about it is that it's like side loading. You get in from the side and it like lifts you up, and I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, I like the reconfiguring when you take off, but
yeah, I like that it's this. Yeah, it's alien, and I think it's cool. It's just not for me.
Yeah, it's got the classic alien issues, that make them just not something I'm super into either. But there's some cool things about it for sure.
Yeah, we got the X1 series, the X1 Velocity, the X1 Force. I heard they're really fast, they're really fun, and really dangerous. They wig out on the 400i lift, or at least they did when they came out. I don't know if they still do, but they were super unpredictable when they first came out. Hopefully they fixed it by now. If not, hopefully soon. And then we got the oh man, so excited for this, the Cutter Rambler. I actually swapped my stock cutter for a Rambler because
I didn't have that one.
It's so good. It is so good. It's like a little camper van, dude. It's so for those of you who may not know, imagine the stock cutter, right? It's very similar to the stock cutter, except that they cut the cargo in half and use that extra space for more living space.
Yep.
So you've got like a better bed.
It's a 70s era Winnie.
It's a fucking Winnebago, and it's great. You've got a little kitchenette, you got a bigger shitter, you have a drop seat, you got a bed. Like it's an actual little living space. It's so good. I love. You got like a little suit locker and weapon rack and everything too. It's so good. I absolutely love it. So the cutter, that's a win in my book. If you didn't have the cutter, but you still had more vehicles, or you just had the Santok and the 3X1s, is what you mean?
Yeah, that's what I had.
Okay, gotcha. And then yeah, 2 more little things. Well, one little thing and one thing that I think is big. I don't actually know what this means, but I read in the patch notes, it says Gravlev bikes are now considered ground vehicles when spawning from the ASOP terminals. The reason that caught my eye is because in the past, you haven't been able to take hover bikes to bunkers because the turrets shoot at you. I need to test now. and I probably will tonight, if you can take these bikes to the bunkers now without them shooting at you.
Supposed to be able
Gotcha.
to.
I hope so, because I mean that's been a huge turnoff for me for a long time. I love the idea of loading up my Corsair with a couple of Dragonflies and then just being able to take those out, like Anakin Skywalker in Attack of the Clones, just going across the desert. I want to do that, but if I'm just going to get blasted by those gigantic attritions on top of buildings, it's not worth it, right?
Yeah, no, I
So,
don't remember what it's called, but that little quad runner thing that I think it's
the
consolidated.
the
Airland.
the hover quad.
Yeah, oh, I love that thing.
It's a fun one. I don't like how it looks, so I don't fly it.
But
But
that's
it's
what
fun.
that's what I do like about it. It's a little wider.
Oh,
It's a little. It's. I mean, it's a
it's like a
quad.
bulldog.
Yeah, no, I like it.
I hate it.
I like
And
it
then
in exactly
the
the same
thing,
way that you do like the Dragonfly.
fair enough. Fair enough. The last thing is that we talked about this, I think, 2 weeks ago. They are continuing to rework FPS, like time to kill and weapon values and armor values. I don't want to get too deep into this because you guys aren't necessarily hardcore combat guys, but I've been talking with our organization a lot this morning, even about changes, and we feel like there's a lot of things that they could do to balance how these weapons work in the game in a way that's fun but also feasible.
Yeah,
And they're just, I feel like they're taking the wrong approach. I feel like they built the guns before they had the system in mind, and now that they have the system in mind, they're just trying to fix the guns that exist instead of starting from scratch and giving them all new values and behaviors and such.
well,
I'm just not happy with it. I wanted to touch on it. So they're fucking with it further. Thought it was noteworthy.
I don't know. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that they'll land in a reasonable place with them.
I hope so. I hope
mean,
so.
I know there's a lot of work coming in the next 6 months or so, with the combat
There is.
and all of the stuff that goes into it. So
My theory behind it is that they're working on it so much and changing it so much right now because they're polishing Squadron and they want to make sure that it feels right for Squadron. And I think that they're trying all these different values, putting them in the hands of the players, see how they respond, see how they work in like in use before they push out the final product in Squadron. That's my theory, and I hope that they make the fixes I hope to see. But we can move on from that. A couple of other notable things that weren't necessarily tied to a patch that happened this year. CitizenCon, that was a big one. We had ILW in the beginning of the year. We had IAE towards the end. Those are pretty cookie cutter events. We get the Javelin tour every year. We get the Idris or the Bengal flyby every year, right? But CitizenCon this year, we should talk a little bit about it.
Yep, absolutely. It was a red letter moment for Star Citizen.
It really, really was, right? And this ties into what we talked about last week too, right? Jared had this video where he basically shotgunned all these different things that they were going to put in the first 6 months of the year, and he basically just vomited most of CitizenCon. We're talking, we got master modes, we got multi-crew gameplay with engineering. He didn't say base building. He said that they're going to be working on base building, not going to be out in the next 6 months, but it's there. Persistent hangars, freight elevators, all these big things, right? It's all coming out.
Yeah, theoretically, we should in the next. I'm still holding out hope that the next patch has the replication layer.
It was supposed to be in this patch.
Well,
right?
It was supposed to be in the last patch.
It was supposed to be in the last patch.
And it's
works,
still, and it's
right?
It's still on. It's still on the card the card's still on the.
It's 322. It's like a
322.
like
so
like
potentially
a .x.
Potentially a .x patch for this patch, but I don't expect it, honestly.
Yeah, we've got 3 months that we're going to live in the 322 cycle now because they're not going to come out with 323 is what I imagine it'll be. They're not going to come out with that until March. We're probably going to have a 324.
Yeah, so Gundam guy here says like a New Year's Eve gift, maybe. I doubt it.
I think at best, and we'll touch on this too because I have it written in my notes. I think at best, as a New Year's Eve gift, and we haven't gotten it yet, so I don't think we're going to, is we may get another Pyrotech preview. I don't think it's going to happen, but if we are going to get anything for New Year's Eve, it's going to be that.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, if they've managed to collect the information that they need, and they've managed to make the fixes that they need, maybe. I think at
Yeah.
best we would get a PU release or PTU release. But I think even that's probably a bit ambitious.
Well, they said that they aimed to give us another tech preview release by the end of the year because they wanted to let us test out the entire Pyro system, not just the first 3 planets. They also wanted us to test out jump gates, right? Which is separate from the replication layer. Still needs testing, but different. So we may get that, right? But that's another part of the CitizenCon thing that I wanted to talk about. Going back to the very beginning of the podcast, we talked about the letter from the chairman. Said we want 4.0 server meshing Pyro all in players' hands. We got virtually none of that, but we've tasted it.
Yeah.
Which is at least something. If you've been following Star Citizen for a while, you know that every time they say this is our goal, it's going to be at least 6 months behind. So when we got this letter from the chairman saying, hey, this is what we hope to have, I don't think anybody believed it. But the fact that we were able to taste it by the end of the year, I think is enough for me. We tasted Pyro. We've tasted the replication layer. We haven't tasted server meshing yet, but we got to see a live functioning demo at CitizenCon.
So the first time they put out the replication layer, they had server recovery, which is a piece of meshing.
It is. It's one of the services. And it's an important one. It's a crucial one, But as a whole, we haven't experienced server meshing yet. Thank you. Oh, thank you again. Jesslyn was cooking. She made me some food.
Hey, Jess.
She's gone, but I'll tell her you said hi.
Oh, thanks. We'll talk to her later when we play.
Yeah. So people are going to be disappointed no matter what, is my point.
Yep.
But I think it still speaks volumes, I think, that even though, no, it's not released like they wanted it to be, I knew it wasn't going to be. I've been telling fucking MD for months now. He's like, we're going to have Pyro and PTU by the end of the year. I'm like, no, we're fucking not, because, if you follow the project for a while, and MD's an old backer. He's just
optimistic.
He has no right to be as optimistic as he is. But
well, in fairness, he's seen a lot come in.
True. But he's super optimistic. But I mean, I just enjoy the fact that we are getting to experience. We're getting proof that they're working at least individually. They're not working together yet, but these pieces are working individually. Pyro works. Replication layer split works. Server crash recovery works.
Ish.
It functions, but I think that right now their biggest thing is timing, right? Server crashes. You're stuck in like this 10-minute leeway.
Right.
And that time is too high, right? And I think that's what they're working on right now. I don't know how any of this works, but when I imagine server crash recovery, I'm a gearhead, right? I work on cars for a living, and I imagine a dual clutch transmission, right? Now, how a dual clutch transmission works is if you can imagine, and maybe you can't, but there's 2 transmissions in a dual clutch transmission.
Yeah.
You have an odd transmission, which has, for instance, gears 1, 3, and 5. You have an even transmission that has gears 2, 4, and 6. They're 2 separate entities in the same housing. Okay. And depending on which gear you want, that'll dictate which clutch is engaged. So if you want, gear 1, you have gear set into first gear with this clutch engaged. But at the same time, you have second gear engaged, but the clutch is disengaged. And then when you shift, it'll just disengage one clutch and engage the other clutch. You're still technically in 2 gears, but only one clutch is engaged. The reason why I make this reference is because when I'm imagining server crash recovery, it almost makes sense to me to have the backup server already spooled up. And then when it crashes, it just takes its place. It engages the second clutch, right? Maybe it doesn't work that way.
Well, I mean, it could work that way. And I think I don't know. I have to believe that they probably considered that as a model. But you have to also consider that means that literally doubles the necessary resources just to
Yeah.
exist in the universe.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
That's a pretty big ask as far
That is
as
kind of hefty.
Maybe if they
just
could teach.
so.
Spit it out, Junior. Come on.
Sorry. Maybe if they could teach the server to sense when a server is getting weak.
That's something.
That's
yeah.
hard. I feel like that's hard, right? Because the
I have no
people who've
doubt
been
that-
playing for a while, they know how to watch for dead servers, right? And maybe they could do it based on average FPS hitting below a certain threshold. Maybe they can even wait for a server to hit a certain threshold, spool up a server, and then force kill this server.
Well, they
and
could they could do a number of things. They could be watching the FPS and then just switch it before it dies. They could be watching the bandwidth. There's there's a whole bunch of stuff that they could probably keep an eye on to determine we need to make this switch before it crashes. I don't know if that's where
Yeah.
their mindset is, but
Gundam here, he's actually a software developer. He said it'd be a load based trigger. That's basically what we're describing. You know, you hit I guess that it is and isn't what we're describing. I don't know anything about that. I'm not a software developer, but if he's saying it'd be a load based trigger, something like that must exist, right? So you hit a certain threshold, right? You preemptively spool a server, make the transfer before the server has a chance to die. Seems like it should work.
well, it's going to be that same type of a system that makes decisions like I need to split the server and split off the load, and that's more in the server meshing where you get this load based trigger where it says, hey, I'm doing too much. I need to spin up another server, hand off a bunch of these resources so that this other server can handle it. So I have no doubt once they get to the point where they're doing server meshing, it'll be a lot easier, right? I imagine that once we get to that point, say you're in some area, there's like 2 or 3 servers handling stuff, one of those servers starts to die. I feel like there should be a way for these other servers that are still up to take over while another server is coming up, so that then you would basically wind up with 2 servers that are kind of struggling but still working until the third one comes back up, and then you're like, oh, everything's fine again, as opposed to the lockdown, just stuck situation that we are in with the current
Maybe
recovery. But that's
maybe
that's
part
down
of
the road.
it has to do maybe part of it has to do with like communication lag time between the two servers and the replication layer. You know, like this entity graph communication lag might be also part of the problem. I don't know exactly how that works either.
Yeah.
I'm just speculating with my zero knowledge, so please take all this with a grain of salt. No idea what I'm talking about. So, but I mean that pretty much wraps up 2023.
You did miss one thing.
What's
What
that?
did I miss?
Mining refactor.
Oh yeah, we talked about the starting of the mining refactor, but yeah, Aegis would know about this. Tell us about that, Aegis.
So prior to the most recent mining refactor, and it would have been 3.20 or up to 22, and they did it in a couple stages. But they basically made rocks a lot bigger. So you got varying sizes. You still got the small ones you used to have. They made it so Quantanium is extremely rare. Finding a rock like we found the other night when we were mining is once a week at most. You're probably once a month. And they tried to make it. I like the direction they tried to go with it. They brought everything else up some, and really made a wider range of things. These things are better. These things are worse. These things aren't even worth looking at. And they also tried to make it to where each mining head was good for a specific type of rock. They didn't quite get there because you still just put, on the mole, for example, you just put 2 Hofstedes, a couple focuses, and your
You can
green
break pretty
areas.
much anything.
Yeah, you can break anything. Your center laser, you keep on a backup, and you just put a helix set up to pump as much power as you can in.
Yeah, They'll
But they went the right direction.
they're getting there. Yeah. In reference to that, right? It's important to make a note that at CitizenCon, I think there was a lot of us that expected Tony Zurvik to come on and talk about the economy team and where Quanta is. And after CitizenCon, everyone was like, "Hey, where the fuck is Tony Z?" And it was basically said like, "Hey, we're in a good spot with the economy team. We're in a good spot with Quanta. We're taking a break because we need to have these other systems in place first. We need to have Pyro in. We need to have server meshing, yada yada yada, whatever, right?" And I feel like them tweaking these mining values and these salvage values and whatever is like, maybe it's preemptive. Maybe I'm just hopeful here. It feels like it's a preemptive change to this dynamic economy that is inbound. No ETA, obviously, but that's what it feels like. It's like they're gearing up for things like iron and copper and diamond to be actual commodities with actual use, actual supply and demand issues that you're gonna have to compensate for. Like, we've just mined all of the fucking whatever in Stanton. Suddenly prices are going to go up because supply is going down. You got to find a new system to mine or whatever. It feels like it's the early days of this dynamic economy, and maybe I'm just hopeful. But
and then how mining is going to tie into base building with you need
Yeah.
your materials to build.
exactly,
Yep.
definitely tie into all that. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up 2023.
Yep.
2024 is going to be a great year.
Lots of stuff happened this year. I would say this was a pretty great year. Lots of really
I think it
good
was.
stuff came in. A lot of great new systems. A lot of great rebalances. And I mean, just seeing the continued progress. It makes me excited for seeing for what's going to be.
It makes me excited too. It's just one of those things where you got to look at 2023 and take it as a general lesson, right? For what to expect in the future. They have come out, CIG have come out and just thrown bombshell after bombshell after bombshell about what to expect in 2024. There was a whole video about here's what we got going on in the first 6 months, yada yada yada,
blah blah blah.
Yeah, so I just want to reiterate, right? Do not take anything that is said as fact. It is their intention. They truly believe they can get it done. That is their intention. That's what they want to do. They're not lying, but don't expect it to actually happen the way it's laid out to.
Yeah.
The letter from the chairman was like, "Hey, we're going to have Pyro server meshing in your hands by the end of next year." Here we fucking are. Got 2 days left. It's not going to happen, right?
Right.
So, as we get into 2024, it's going to be a fantastic year. There's going to be a whole lot of stuff that's going to fundamentally change the game, and it's going to be great, but it will not have everything that they're saying it's going to have. So just dial in your expectations a little bit and just take it as it comes. It's going to be great no matter what.
Yep.
Set your expectations.
Yep. So I would go so far as to say, as if you're somebody who's managed to find our stream and you haven't been in the game for a while, or if you're new, it's a good time to get in.
Fantastic time.
There's a lot of great stuff going on. There's a lot of people in the game that are willing to help. A lot of friendliness.
Yeah. In fact, I think for the next few days there's a free fly going on. I should double check that. Well, it's Christmas, right? It's Luminalia. They usually have a free fly for Luminalia. I have it up right now. Let me check before I go spit in my mouth. Let me see. Point available. Well, it's not plastered on their home screen, so maybe there's not a free fly, but there are discounted starter packs until I think the 2nd or the 7th, sometime early January. So it is a great time to get in. It's the cheapest you can get in all year. There are other discounted packs throughout the year, but it's all going to be the same discount. It's like $40, I think, for like an Aurora starter pack. That's all you need. So you can get in, you can experience everything the game has to offer. And if you're looking for people to play with, maybe show you the ropes. 2 ways you could do it. 1, you could go to the RSI guide system, but it kind of sucks. Or 2, you could go to discord.gg/pfcs and come play with us, and we can show you how to play the game.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to seeing you in game. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Have a good day.